This goofy-looking weeb is the male protagonist, named Veen Din, a docile NEET. He just ran away from home, and at the airport, he's happily determined to have fun during his days of being tortured by his family. Moreover, he even thinks that it would be better if he could Ike Kai to another world. As he walks through the security gate, the surrounding space suddenly changes, taking him to another world. Probably because he just inhaled a bit of flour. The dude even thinks this is an amusement park at Disney. Without saying much, he takes out his phone and takes a few photos. While taking some more photos, a dragon licks him, waking him up completely. After a while of freaking out, Veen Din realizes that he has been transported to another world. With the experience of an otaku, Veen Din confidently believes that he is the main character, possessing a cool power. His excitement is cut short by an old man who pulls him down. The old man asks him if Veen Din is from the other country to participate in the entrance exam. Seeing that Veen Din doesn't understand, the old man drags him along. On the way, Veen Din thinks that this must be the initial setting for him to become stronger. Before him now is the 5-colored divine stone. Veen Din is called up by the examiner to take the test. He acts cool, pushes his glasses up confidently, and places his hand on the stone. Who would have guessed that a dazzling light appears? But it's a white light. He's laughed at by the people around him until the examiner explains that on the Doha Nha continent, the world is made up of magic. Each color that appears represents a great power. But the white light emanating from the divine stone Veen Din touched means he has absolutely no magic. Veen Din is feeling extremely sad and gets dragged by the female examiners to hide behind a mirror. They discover that there's still a strand-like green color. Veen Din is devastated after hearing this. Who else transmigrates without any aura like him? Veen Din is left with no choice but to drag his butt to sit at the foot of a tree to avoid feeling sad. While lamenting his fate, the old man from earlier approaches him and comforts and encourages him. To survive on the Doha Nha continent, besides magic, one can also become a great gardener. Veen Din still has the wood element, so he can't waste his talent. Just by him and the old man creating a beautiful flower garden. Hearing these words, he doesn't feel majestic at all, but to continue surviving, he accepts. And so Veen Din becomes a real gardener. Every day, he takes care of the flower garden. One day, while sitting around, he suddenly hears someone yelling, "Ah ah." Veen Din approaches to see what's happening. What the heck? He finds a very shocking scene. He's about to run away before being discovered, but gets caught by 2 guys who drag him to a lady. The woman approaches him, threatens him, and says that if he reveals her secret, she'll cut off his cherry blossom in his pants. Hearing this, he's scared stiff. In the evening, the old man returns home, seeing Veen Din is down. Seeing this, he approaches and encourages him, telling him about his past achievements. When he was young, he also traveled all over the continent, and he also almost reached the pinnacle of power in this world. And that is the power of the fairies. Because he sought them out, he wasted more than half his life traveling all over the continent. After decades, he finally obtained a fairy seed. Veen Din, hearing this, starts to imagine power again. The character system is finally unlocked. He excitedly looks forward to it. The old man opens the box, but when the box opens, there's only one seed. Our dude Veen Din doesn't understand anything. Ignoring his weeb lord's stupidity, the old man continues. After years of trying to plant it, the old man couldn't succeed. So he wanted to give the seed to Veen Din to try planting. Just in case it succeeds, it wouldn't be a waste of the old man's entire life. Veen Din holds the seed in his hand, and he sees the word Fong on it. So he guesses that all he needs to do is release the seal for it, and he'll definitely be able to plant it. The next morning, Veen Din starts the task of planting the seed. Unlike planting ordinary plants, he draws a whole formation and stuff. But after trying over and over from morning to night, he still can't break the seal. He's pissed off. "You know," Veen Din muttered, then grabbed a hammer and slammed it into the seed, but it didn't work. Driven crazy, the young man decided to take a gamble. That night, Veen Din used his blood for a sacrifice. Despite the pain, he was determined to make a small cut in his hand to let blood drip onto the seed. After waiting for a while, the result was still not as expected. Extremely frustrated, the young man decided to take a walk to clear his mind. While wandering around, Veen Din bumped into the same group of people from before. The three of them were cuddling up to each other, and suddenly the woman bit her lover's neck, draining his vital energy. It turned out the woman was a demon. The other person saw this and used his power to attack, but he was scared and ran away. However, the demon woman quickly caught up and requested a little more blood from him. Veen Din, seeing this scene, was terrified and ran away. After running for a while, he thought he was safe, so he stopped. Unexpectedly, when he turned his head, he saw the woman's face right behind him. The demon grabbed Veen Din, hung him in the air, and stabbed him through. Veen Din was unwilling, because he was still a virgin, and he had to endure this. While drowning in his emotions, a blood lily flower on his body suddenly bloomed, revealing a beautiful girl. At this point, Veen Din was still delusional, thinking he was the protagonist and that this girl was definitely his past lover. But life isn't a dream. The cold girl opened her mouth and said that she was from hell, wanting to request a little fresh blood from Veen Din. The demon saw the strange girl appear and approached to inquire, but she ignored her. Regardless of the demon, she cut through the thorns to rescue Veen Din. Seeing Veen Din's critical condition, she drew her sword, unleashed a skill that sent the demon flying, and then used her power to transfer life force into Veen Din's body, allowing him to recover. When he woke up, Veen Din saw the beautiful girl by his side. He hallucinated a bit, but before he could think it through, the girl coldly said that she saved him to kill him herself. She had been sealed for 10,000 years, enduring all kinds of hardships, and the only reason she still existed was to kill him with her own hands. After saying that, she grabbed her sword and rushed to attack Veen Din. However, no wound appeared on him, but on the contrary, wounds appeared on her instead. At this moment, a new character appeared, claiming to be the headmistress of the Sock and Gaiet Roman 6 Academy. She advised the fairy not to attack her master, otherwise she would be retaliated against. Hearing this, the fairy miss became angry but continued to attack. But when she got close to Veen Din, she was flung away. The headmistress realized the inner guards were approaching, so she urged Veen Din to quickly subdue the fairy so they could leave. She gave Veen Din a fairy notebook from the academy and told him to place his hand on it. Immediately, Veen Din read the subduing command, causing the fairy to fly inside. At the academy, the headmistress told him that legends of the ancient fairies were always circulating on the continent, and there were even fairy dynasties. But it was unclear why, one night, all the fairies disappeared. The fairy notebook Veen Din just received was a precious book from the academy, passed down for thousands of years, documenting how to control fairies. Veen Din thought he would get to keep the book, but Headmistress Roman 6 didn't agree. However, she said she would lend it to him if he agreed to study at Sock and Gaiet Academy and help her find the demon's hiding place. Seeing Veen Din hesitate, the headmistress presented 3 seeds as a reward to entice him. Seeing such hot goods, Veen Din immediately knelt down and obeyed. Thanks to this, Veen Din got the book and took it back to his room. On the bed, he opened the fairy notebook and found that to control fairies, the master had to have an intimate interaction with them. The higher the level of intimacy, the stronger the fairy's ability. Suddenly, the book glowed and emitted the voice of the system. Veen Din was instantly overjoyed, thinking this is the real hack here. The system explained that the master's current mental power was not strong enough, and only when the mental power was activated could he enter the fairy's virtual world. This is a world created from the fairy's memories, and it is their obsession to become fairies. In order for the fairy to obey him, Veen Din must enter their world and conquer them. After saying this, the system jumped into Veen Din's 15 Pro Max phone for him to use conveniently. The next morning, he went to the academy and wanted to make friends with his classmates. But they looked down on him and shunned him because they thought a naive guy like him wasn't worthy of being exempted from the entrance exam. Embarrassed, he was thrown a power measuring stone by a student and asked to pick it up. As soon as he touched it, the stone emitted a light of the water and wood elements, surprising everyone. Even Veen Din found it hard to believe. Holding it for a moment, the stone shattered, proving that his aptitude was very high. Everyone looked at him with admiration, making him feel a bit awkward. To blend in with the crowd, Veen Din started teasing the girls, but unexpectedly, on his first day of school, he flirted with the school's beauty queen. Seeing the situation getting tense, he slipped into a corner and asked the system. The system explained that because he had just absorbed the demon and the fairy's abilities, he had inherited their strong natural talents, along with the demon's power, making everyone around him pay attention to him. Veen Din's first class was running around the field, which made him so tired he couldn't breathe. After that, the teacher lectured on the will to strive, but a student interjected and suggested a real combat session to develop their powers. He wanted to spar with Veen Din for a few rounds, but Veen Din was tired and declined. However, the teacher forced him to agree. As they were about to begin, a group of soldiers appeared, led by Princess AniCuns, the king's most beloved daughter. She came to observe the fight between the two. The battle began, and Veen Din was pressed by his opponent's wind attacks. Fortunately, because he had just absorbed the powers of the fairy and the demon, he could withstand them. Suddenly, he heard the fairy's voice reminding him to summon her to win. However, this time Veen Din didn't want to rely on others and wanted to defeat his opponent himself. After dodging attacks for a while, he remembered that he could create an attack by gathering his mental power and releasing it. Following that, he made his opponent disappear. After witnessing the battle, the princess was very satisfied. However, Veen Din was exhausted and fainted immediately afterward. When he woke up, he found himself in a different world. There, he unexpectedly met a child in critical condition. Without hesitation, Veen Din went over and took care of the child lovingly. Suddenly, two thugs appeared, wanting to kidnap the child to sell. Veen Din tried to stop them but was slapped and fell to the ground. Seeing the child being taken away, Veen Din's heroic spirit flared up. He quickly snatched the child back and hugged him close. Seeing this, the two thugs were furious and beat up Veen Din. While he was being beaten, Veen Din was suddenly pulled back to the real world. After taking out his phone, the system explained that he had just been transported to the fairy's illusionary world. And that was the memory of the girl named Mac-Fi before she transformed into a fairy. The system added that as long as he obtained the fairy's power, Mac-Fi would definitely obey her master. While messing around with his phone, suddenly a scene of Mac-Fi standing appeared. Veen Din wanted to explain to clear the misunderstanding between the two, but she was indifferent and even reproached him. She complained that why didn't Veen Din call her out to help during the skill solo? Wouldn't that be faster? Our young man seriously said that he wanted to cherish beautiful women like her. Hearing this, Mac-Fi temporarily believed him, but while they were talking, two other girls suddenly appeared. It turned out they were two demon girls. They dragged a guy in to suck his vital energy, making Veen Din next to him scared. Suddenly, a knight walked in, cutting short the two demon ladies' fun. He was the master of these fairies and ordered his two subordinates to start operating tonight. Back home, Veen Din sat there lamenting his fate because he felt that he was so unlucky. Frustrated, he grabbed some noodles to eat. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, making Veen Din. Causing Veen Din to be frightened, thinking it was the demons from earlier that morning. Opening the door slightly, he unexpectedly threw a punch, hitting Princess AniCuns. Veen Din was terrified, quickly carrying the princess to the bed, but because there was nowhere else to sleep, he had to climb into bed with her. The next morning, when AniCuns woke up, she immediately punched Veen Din to teach him a lesson. Veen Din quickly begged for forgiveness and even bribed her with a bowl of ramen noodles. Suddenly, two demons arrived to assassinate Veen Din. They both hid in a corner. Veen Din used his skill to bind the demons and quickly grabbed the princess's hand to escape. But the two demons quickly broke free from the trap and chased after them. When they were cornered, Veen Din took out his phone and called McFly. Immediately, McFly appeared and beat the two demons mercilessly. However, the leader unexpectedly appeared, destroying the wall that McFly had created and quickly killed his two subordinates. Immediately afterward, he charged in to fight McFly. The system informed Veen Din that with this guy's power, McFly wouldn't be able to win. Veen Din really wanted to help, but the system suggested that increasing the intimacy level between them would increase McFly's power. There were two ways to create intimacy. One was daily interaction, and the other was rebuilding the fairy's spiritual world. Veen Din wanted to try the second method right away, but the system said his mental power wasn't strong enough. Princess Kai saw this and used her mental power to help Veen Din enter McFly's world. In this world, Veen Din was just a spirit, unable to communicate directly. He could only observe. McFly at this time was an assassin for hire. One day, she met a stranger who looked a lot like Veen Din and wanted to buy the sword he was holding. But the guy refused because the sword wasn't something that could be sold, surprising McFly because in this place, money could decide everything. From then on, McFly gradually developed feelings for him. One day, when this guy was beaten for protecting a child, McFly intervened to help. As a thank you, he gave her the sword she had previously asked to buy. Veen Din watched from afar and felt sad, thinking that McFly had been conquered by that guy, his past self. In reality, Princess Kai was almost exhausted. Inside, McFly was also cornered. With no other choice, McFly decided to sacrifice herself to destroy the night with her blood power. Before committing suicide, she looked back at Veen Din with sad eyes and disappeared. Inside McFly's inner world at this moment, our protagonist was letting out a string of curses to relieve his frustration. Then, he turned to talk to Veen Din, surprising him. It turned out that he was Veen Din's past life, which explained why he could see and talk to him. His goal was to find every means necessary to successfully win over McFly, and from that moment, he began to approach her from the smallest things. He started bringing her food every day. One day, he confided in McFly that he was a poet, constantly wandering in search of beautiful scenes to inspire his poetry, and that he had found a place untouched by war. Only a house was surrounded by blood lilies. Just glancing out into the distance revealed an extremely beautiful picture. He wanted her to go there with him. These sweet words made McFly's heart flutter. From that day on, their relationship became close. He was able to visit her house to cook for McFly, cooking only the most exquisite dishes to win over her stomach and youthful heart. Veen Din watched with jealousy, not knowing what to do to help McFly. And then, McFly was moved and agreed to follow the handsome guy. He made an appointment with her to meet at the top of the tower 3 days later. McFly was overjoyed when she heard this. One of her friends guessed that the guy was up to something with McFly, so he advised her not to believe him, because happiness doesn't come out of nowhere. But McFly ignored him and didn't listen. She went home, packed her bags, and went to the top of the tower to wait for the man she loved. However, the handsome guy abandoned McFly there for 3 days, causing Veen Din to watch this scene with heartache. The next day, her friend ran over and told McFly to escape because there were hordes of warriors waiting to kill her under the tower. A cannonball flew from somewhere, causing McFly to fall. Even at this point, she was still thinking about Guy, the handsome guy. McFly wanted to run to find him but was blocked by the warriors. They even dragged out a girl to intimidate McFly. She didn't hesitate and took them all out. Just when she thought everything was settled, the girl she saved took a knife and asked for some of her blood. She was confused when the ugly guy came up. It turned out that this dog had planned everything. He lured her into a romantic trap so he could easily take her power, causing McFly to be extremely upset. She was captured by the soldiers. McFly now thought about the past, all the sweet words ringing in her ears, making her feel weak. The ugly guy took out the soldiers he had lured. As for McFly, she took the opportunity to grab her sword and slash at him, but she was stopped by a girl. McFly was now seriously injured and was no match for this girl. She was easily defeated. This guy's real purpose was to travel the world to find girls with the right qualities to become fairies, and McFly had all the right qualities. He told her that she could either become a fairy or die. If she became a fairy, she would have an eternal life. At that time, McFly could find him to seek revenge whenever she wanted. Hearing this, she agreed to become a fairy to seek revenge. Veen Din wanted to stop this, but it was too late. He told Veen Din that their souls were one, and what he was doing was like Veen Din playing a game. He always wanted to have all the beautiful girls around him, so his nature and his were one and the same. Suddenly, Veen Din was taken to McFly's sealed space. If this place collapsed, he wouldn't be able to return. But he didn't care and went in, stabbed his sword into the ground, and climbed to where McFly was. Veen Din wanted to do what a man should do for her. After he was done, he relaxed his body and fell toward the sword. Thanks to Veen Din's sacrifice, McFly remembered her past. There had once been a boy who protected her when she was little. Suddenly, she woke up and saw Veen Din lying unconscious on the ground. She went over, pulled out her sword, and realized that the person who had deceived her affections wasn't Veen Din. At this moment, McFly felt remorseful, crying and begging him not to die. She hoped he would wake up soon. Hadn't he said he wanted to protect her? Seeing no movement from him, thinking he was dead, McFly thought she was still alone in the end. Suddenly, he moved slightly and grabbed her leg. Veen Din stood up, apologizing. It seemed he was still alive. It turned out this general had pretended to be unconscious to hear her sincere and moving monologue. McFly was furious, grabbed her sword, and threatened him to explain what had just happened. He quickly knelt down and explained that it was probably the princess's mental power that replenished his life, allowing him to wake up. Fortunately, McFly temporarily forgave Veen Din. Suddenly, the system announced, "Congratulations, General, you have successfully conquered McFly." So they now had the ability to merge. They both decided to go out and fight the enemy. Afterward, Veen Din began to merge with McFly, gaining the power of the fairy. Veen Din continuously pummeled the guy, causing him to run away constantly. The system announced that their merging time was running out, so he ended him with a punch that created an explosion that shook the entire forest. At this point, the system announced that McFly's friendliness towards him had reached MX level. Veen Din wanted McFly to help rebuild her virtual world. He curiously touched her horn and found it felt pretty good. Unfortunately for Veen Din, McFly got angry and punched him twice. The system explained that the fairy's body was formed by merging with plants. Currently, McFly's friendliness had dropped into the negative numbers. Just then, the headmaster came by and praised Veen Din, saying he wasn't bad, having dealt with the two demonesses. The headmaster kept her promise and gave Veen Din 2 fairy seeds. She thanked him for helping to drive away the enemy. Afterward, the headmaster told him that today's events shouldn't be spread around and said goodbye to McFly before going home. After a night of hard fighting, the next day, Veen Din carried his tired body to the academy to listen to the lecture. The teacher introduced 2 new transfer students. Everyone didn't know who they were. Then the 2 girls appeared and walked in. It turned out to be McFly and Princess and Kai. At that time, this general was still sleeping with drool flowing, not understanding why it was so noisy. He opened his eyes and saw the 2 girls sitting on either side of him. At this point, he still didn't understand why they were there. These 2 beautiful girls even knew Veen Din, making the single guys in the class jealous. He had snatched all the beautiful girls in the class as soon as he started school. They had to catch him and beat him up. Fortunately, he escaped in time. Veen Din wanted to search for magical information that could accelerate seed germination and plant growth, but the system said these methods were ineffective for elves. The system reassured him, saying it had a solution, and instructed him to take out the seeds. The system guided Yuanding in breaking the seed seal. The seeds had a twin nature and needed to be submerged in water. The seeds also possessed a moonlight attribute, requiring absorption of white light. Elsewhere, a subordinate reported to his superior that his mission had failed because a legendary elf had appeared beside the princess. Learning that the elf had already chosen a master, he ordered the subordinate to kill both the elf and its master. By the lake, the seeds had sprouted into a lotus flower, inside which was a very beautiful girl. However, inexplicably, upon seeing Yuanding, she lunged at him, attempting to kill him. At the same time, the seeds bloomed, absorbing the moonlight. The second fairy, wearing a blue dress with horns on her head, they were sisters. The older sister, wearing a pink dress, was named Lion Xiang, and the younger sister, wearing a blue dress, was named Yu Yu. As soon as he saw the beautiful girls, the guy's nose bled. He almost got stabbed by Mac 5 for being a lecher. To avoid trouble, he put them both in the notebook. The next day, the headmaster called Veen Din over and sensed that he would die in a few days. The academy received news that the Knight of the Falling Sun was leading the Knights of the Flying Robe to attack them, not only wanting to take down Princess and Kai, but also Veen Din, because he was the master of the fairies. No matter where on his body, he couldn't escape this fate. The headmaster gave Veen Din a way out. Stay away from the academy as far as possible to avoid involving others. It was convenient to take Princess and Kai with him as well. Before leaving, a girl gave Veen Din a piece of quartz. Through it, he could exchange magic course rewards or magical tools. Veen Din then led Princess and Kai and the fairies away from the academy. As they were walking, they saw a lake in front of them and ran towards it. Suddenly, a huge dragon appeared, introducing itself as Jorgaris, the noble fire dragon. He came to steal Veen Din's fairies. Lion Xiang wanted to fight, but Veen Din stopped her. Veen Din started boasting, having defeated an 8th level knight, making the dragon feel a bit intimidated. Veen Din challenged the dragon to a one-on-one fight, and the dragon accepted the challenge. The dragon knocked Veen Din into the lake, and then Veen Din lured the fire dragon into the water. They both went back and forth between the water and the land, exchanging blows, but mostly just talking. Seeing this, Veen Din used a cloud silk rope to drag the dragon down. Seeing he couldn't defeat the dragon surrendered. At this point, Veen Din asked if there was any reward or medicine. The dragon gave him a flute, saying that if he encountered danger, he could blow the dragon flute and the dragon would assist him. Afterward, Veen Din went to the inn and rented a room. The innkeeper saw this young man taking on 4 people by himself, and he was stronger than an ox. At night, the innkeeper told them a legend about the lake. In the past, the Chandai Lake was very beautiful, but one night, the lotus leaves suddenly withered, and it was renamed Wu Shang Lake. Looking at the lake, Lion Xiang had a familiar feeling, but she couldn't remember because she had lost her memories. Veen Din told Lion Xiang to stay for a few days, maybe she would remember more. She hugged her head, not wanting to remember. It was hard enough to forget. Suddenly, a group of strangers appeared. These 3 came to steal Veen Din's fairies. Seeing their master being chased, the 2 girls ran towards them. He recognized that they were probably from the Flying Robe Empire. Veen Din immediately blew the flute to call the dragon. Knowing that the group also wanted to steal his fairies, the dragon turned around and joined their team. Afterward, the fairies went to brawl with the 3 minions, exchanging martial arts skills. The 2 sides were evenly matched. At this point, Veen Din's opponent, the dragon that had just betrayed him, was once again knocked into the water by the dragon. It was really unlucky. The underwater fight accidentally exposed the seal at the bottom of the lake, causing Veen Din to be sucked down. Seeing her master in danger, Macfi jumped into the lake to find him but couldn't find him. Seeing her sister injured, Lion Xiang became angry. These minions were underestimating the enemy and couldn't gain the upper hand. They didn't know if Luo Rai had finished his business yet. It turned out that they were split into two groups. Over there, Luo Rai went to assassinate Princess and Kai. At this time, Vien Din was trapped at the bottom of the lake, thinking he was about to die. But he woke up by the Lotus Lake. This was the Lotus Lake of old, before the lotus flowers withered. Suddenly, a girl who looked like Lion Xiang came over. Seeing that he was injured, she bandaged him. It was just a minor injury, but he was bandaged like a mummy. The girl said that whenever she saw a wound, she couldn't control herself. The girl was about to leave when she remembered him and went over to ask her name. She said her name was Lion Yu. He thought, wasn't that Lion Xiang? The memories in the virtual world shouldn't have been different. The protagonist realized he was in the virtual world, meeting his past self. Clearly, he was standing in front of her, but she couldn't see him. She could only see. It turned out that the seal was located outside the consciousness of the spirits themselves. She discarded this memory fragment, turning it into an independent virtual world. That's why she lost her memories. His past self punched a tree, and this treacherous dragon was also sucked in. He forced the dragon to become his underling, threatening to make dragon meat if it refused. The terrified dragon readily agreed. Then his past self ordered the dragon to investigate the liaison, a woman from Black Pearl Village who earned a living harvesting lotus flowers. She had a gentle voice, an open and free-spirited personality, and an admirable figure. It was said she was tirelessly searching for a cure for her younger sister. Then he went on a date. In his past life, Yuan Ding had dated Liaison, even actively gathering herbs to cure her sister's illness. This time, the present-day protagonist could only observe. The two went to a cave searching for a herb called Tiger's Might Root, but a monster lived inside. Liaison carefully harvested the herb, awakening the monster. Seeing her in danger, the protagonist was about to rush in, but his past self swiftly rescued her. Fortunately, Yuan Ding could only observe and wasn't harmed. Both quickly fled, the monster in pursuit. Unexpectedly, they found themselves facing a precipice. It turned out the dragon had awakened the monster for revenge. Cornered, Liaison bravely confronted the monster. Seeing Liaison in danger, his past self saved her again. The enraged monster attacked his past self, but with a single finger, he easily subdued it. The dragon, mouth agape in fear, quickly begged for mercy. His past self ordered the dragon to gather dried leaves from the cliffside. Liaison awoke and his past self gave her the dried leaves. The pair then talked. She learned he had faced many dangers gathering precious herbs for her, yet Lion Xiang's illness persisted. His past self then revealed a cure for her sister, the 3 Lives Powder. That evening, Liaison returned home to care for her sister, who was revealed to be Lion Xiang in her past life. Yuan Ding's past self followed Liaison, confessing his feelings and learning she reciprocated, but she prioritized caring for her sister. Liaison willingly sacrificed her happiness and freedom, dedicating her life to atonement until death. Yuan Ding was frustrated seeing his past self seemingly juggling 2 relationships, but his past self retorted that if she was pretending to be Liaison, wasn't that fulfilling her own desires? Though angered, Yuan Ding could only fume. That evening, the sisters ate and rested. Liaison continued researching new remedies for her sister. Lion Xiang wanted to help and use the new medicine her sister had developed before. Liaison refused. The new medicine was sealed, had dangerous side effects, and lacked crucial ingredients. She preferred her sister's current state to risking anything. Lately, Lion Xiang had noticed her sister mentioning Yuan Ding frequently. She advised her sister, "Give that person a chance." The next day, Lion Xiang pretended to be Lion Yu again, going to find medicine, and met Vien Din's past self. So they went boating together on the Lotus Lake. Sitting on the boat, Lion Yu looked at the blooming lotus flowers, her heart heavy. It turned out that when she was little, Lion Yu slipped and fell into the lake. Her sister, to save her, also fell into the water. Although they were later rescued by a lord, Lion Xiang caught a cold and became seriously ill. Afterward, she was unable to stand. The past self said, "Luckily, it wasn't Lion Yu who fell into the water and got hurt, but Lion Xiang." Hearing these words, she was shocked and coughed up a mouthful of blood before passing out. Lion Xiang didn't have much time left. She hoped that after she was gone, her sister would have a happy life. That night, when Lion Xiang woke up, she thought everything was just a dream. Why the next day did Lion Yu say goodbye to Lion Xiang and go into the forest to collect herbs, but she actually went to meet Veen Din's past self. Hearing the boy say, "The 3 lives grass has finally been found," the girl was excited and couldn't help but ask. Even though it was found, the price to pay was too high. Not only did it require the blood of a loved one, but it also needed a large amount of the disease that her sister had, which was actually a type of blood disease. But the medicine was just a rumor, and the results weren't guaranteed. In the real world, Luo Rai sneaked into the princess's room at midnight to assassinate Kai. But no matter what he did, he couldn't break her protective barrier. Just then, Kai woke up and saw Luo Rai by her bedside. She was very happy and ran over to hug him. Outside Tian Dai Lake, the battle was fierce. Princess Kai dragged Luo Rai over so he could quickly help the fairies. Oh, a move where a teammate squeezes a teammate's cherry blossom without fear of a strong enemy, only fearing a stupid teammate. Who would have thought that Luo Rai turned to help these people, pointing his sword at the fairies to kill them? The princess was still very naive and thought her knight had mistaken someone. Rai immediately said, "No mistake, it's true that I want to kill these fairies." Inside the virtual world, Lion Yu was pretending to date Veen Din's past self, acting out a scene for Lion Xiang, who was watching from the sidelines. Seeing Lion Xiang watching, she cruelly said, "I really want my own life. I want to be free. Because I took care of my sister, I worried about her day after day looking for medicine and had to work hard to take care of her. So I couldn't help but add 3 doses of phoenix leaf to Lion Xiang's medicine." In the dark corner, hearing these words, her heart ached like a knife cut, tears welled up, and Lion Xiang coughed up syrup. That night, holding the bowl of medicine her sister gave her, Lion Xiang recalled Lion Yu's words from the morning and was filled with indignation. She held a knife, wanting to stab her sister in the back when she wasn't paying attention, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. In the end, Lion Yu said, "Sister, stab yourself," and had her carry her to the lake. Lion Xiang, with tears on her face, tried to carry her sister to the lake and meet Veen Din's past self. Hearing him speak, she realized the truth. From the very beginning, Lion Yu's intention was to make her sister hate her like this. After she was gone, her sister could live peacefully. But now, Lion Xiang knew the truth. She was filled with self-reproach and wanted to embrace her sister's body and step into Tian Dai Lake. Veen Din saw this from the side and was very worried. He wanted to stop her, but he couldn't. Lion Xiang embraced her sister's body, sending a prayer to the gods, hoping that in the next life, they would be sisters again and stay together. Just then, Veen Din's past self made a suggestion. As long as you 2 sisters evolve into fairies, you can become 2 lotus flowers with the same root, blooming together, fixing your mistakes together. Everything can start over. Hearing these words, memories of the 2 of them happily together flooded Lion Xiang's mind. She touched the lotus flower. The moment Lion Xiang touched the lotus flower Veen Din's past self had given her, a dazzling light appeared, and the lotus flower bloomed. But unexpectedly, during the evolution into a fairy, Lion Yu failed, and Lion Xiang went insane. So she erased her memories and suppressed herself in the bottom of the lake. The remaining fragments of memories made her believe she was Lion Yu. This was the end. Veen Din was furious. He wanted to kill this past self of his. He kept talking about some kind of contract, but he harmed people's lives to achieve his goals. and he forced them to reach the ending he had planned before, playing with their feelings. Veen Din wanted to kill his past self, but he couldn't defeat him. He was even counterattacked and took a hit. This guy was still very thick-skinned and said that it wasn't his fault. He only provided the medicine. The sister's evolution failure didn't cause him any loss. Hearing this self-righteous tone, even though Veen Din didn't have much power, he still wanted to continue fighting. Before he could even land a hit, he was knocked back and coughed up blood. For Veen Din, these twin sisters were not game characters but real people, living and breathing. They also knew how to cry and laugh, and they would be saddened by his actions for the rest of their lives. The past self gave Veen Din another chance to prove to him that he was different from his past self. He brought Veen Din back to the past so he could try to change things. After all, if Veen Din couldn't change the ending, he wouldn't be able to leave this world. This time, Veen Din was no longer an observer. He began to intervene in this world. He helped Lion Yu and worked with her to try to find a new medicine. However, they really tried many ways, but none of them worked. Even when Veen Din suggested relying on the previous medicine, focusing on the side effects and persistently adjusting the dosage, it still didn't work. Over the years, Lion Yu had tried many medicines, but unfortunately, none of them worked. Veen Din had no other choice but to hurry to Lion Yu and tell her the truth. Although the 3 Lives grass could cure Lion Xiang's illness, it required using her sister's blood and life in exchange, which was too much. Because of this, her sister, not wanting Lion Xiang to live in guilt and use a method to make her sister hate her, Lion Xiang heard this and said she would absolutely never let this happen. She swore she would never do anything to hurt her sister to continue living. That night, the 2 sisters invited Veen Din to their house for dinner. They wanted to thank him once. At the dinner table, the 3 of them ate and chatted happily. Suddenly, Lion Xiang collapsed under the table. It turned out that Lion Xiang had secretly given them medicine, and even Veen Din couldn't escape. Actually, it was the older sister who was really sick at heart. To escape the guilt in her heart, she had always stayed by Lion Xiang's side. Lion Xiang could only sacrifice her blood to make medicine to cure her sister's heart disease. After all, the 3 Lives grass could cure all diseases. When Veen Din woke up, he quickly ran to the lake. Seeing that the ending couldn't be changed, he couldn't give up like that, so he asked for another chance and went back to the past. Everything happened again, but this time, before the tragedy happened, Veen Din appeared in time to stop the 2 sisters' actions. Both of them wanted to sacrifice themselves for the other. But if they continued to live by sacrificing the other's life, what meaning would life have for either of them? Although Veen Din successfully conquered them, unfortunately, this was just a copy created by memories from the past. The copy was shattered, and even if he saved them, they couldn't do anything else. Veen Din couldn't hold back his tears and burst into sobs. Was all his effort really meaningless? Although he couldn't change the past, Veen Din made Lion Xiang realize that she could finally face what she had done and no longer hide from the truth. Lion Xiang came over and gave Veen Din a kiss to thank him for what he had done for her. Although Veen Din couldn't change Lion Xiang's past, he could change the future. He needed to return to the real world and change the future. The fairy girls were waiting for him outside. At this time, the shameless dragon stuck to him, also wanting to return with them. He said that if he could just go back with them, he would agree to anything. Humph, you said it yourself. Outside, Veen Din rode the fire dragon back to the real world. He immediately rescued Princess and Kai and then merged with the fairy, Lion Xiang. Even though Luo Rai rushed over with his sword to stop him, how could he stop our protagonist? After merging, Veen Din felt his body full of energy. His new skills were incredibly cool, different from when he merged with Mac Fi. The feeling of merging with Lion Xiang made his body lighter and more dynamic. This was the characteristic of water. With a light flick of his hand, Luo Rai was frozen. Even though he could only freeze Luo Rai and trap him for 3 minutes, it was enough. The second guy was very proud of himself. but Veen Din flew over, grabbed his head, froze him, and threw him far away, landing him on the roof. The next one was swept up in the current. Continuing to follow his comrades, Dragon Roar, I'm gonna give you a lot of punches, and I'll give you a kick from the master. Luo Rai said that he had underestimated him before, but this time, he was stronger than Veen Din, letting Mac Fi continue to merge with him. The two fairy merge skill was just unleashed. Veen Din made it difficult for Luo Rai to move. However, he still tried to attack him. The two engaged in a fierce battle on the surface of the water. Princess and Kai was still worried about Luo Rai at this moment. Although the last leader's strength was pretty good, he was no match for the protagonist, right? Just when Veen Din was about to give Luo Rai a decisive blow, Princess and Kai ran over to stop him. She stood in front of Luo Rai, begging Veen Din to stop. She was afraid Luo Rai would be eaten. Veen Din and the two fairies, Lion Xiang and Mac Fi, separated. Seeing Princess and Kai return to scold Luo Rai and then embrace him. However, Luo Rai pushed and Kai away and left a reply they would never see each other again. Leaving, hearing these words, the princess, no matter how sadly she cried, could not stop the boy who had once been her knight. The battle ended. The lotus flowers under the lake bloomed again. This was the true appearance of Tiandai Lake. A large lotus flower appeared, which was two lotus flowers with the same root. Lion Xiang spoke up at this time to thank Veen Din for giving her a new life, a new choice. However, the truth could not be changed. For whatever reason, she had once doubted her sister, so there was no way to forgive herself. Tiandai Lake was where Lion Xiang's soul returned, so Lion Xiang decided to stay here forever to protect this place. Without her, Mac Fi wouldn't have to be jealous anymore. I wish her a speedy return to freedom. In the past, present, and future, Lion Xiang believed that Master Veen Din would definitely bring happiness to them fairies. Everything ended. Veen Din and Princess and Kai rode the dragon and continued to fly away, sitting on the fire dragon's body. At this point, the naive princess realized that Lion Xiang, Mac Fi, and Yu Yu were fairies. Even more surprisingly, she took out another fairy seed from somewhere. Just like that, the fairy notebook stack stopped there. Thank you everyone for watching us. If you like it, please give us a like and a subscription so you can keep up with our latest reviews.